Welcome back to another episode of Built from the Inside Out. I'm here with Davy Barnes, a competitor of the Titan Games. Thank you for being here today.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited about this episode.
I am too. Thank you for having me on here. I like that you're doing this.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that everybody needs to hear, and not a lot of people are talking about it. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, I'm Davy Barnes. I grew up in the upper Midwest. I grew up on a farm, very conservative. I was homeschooled up to high school, and then I went to a Christian boarding school and raised by two amazing parents. I had four siblings, and we lived on a ranch and a farm. And we were basically taught the opposite of what society is taught. Instead of, getting punished for something wrong we did, we could not work. That was our punishment. So we wanted to go out and help dad. We wanted to do things, and it was a punishment for us to stay inside and not work. And things like that. Dad and mom taught us that society doesn't teach you anymore, like they make work look
Yeah.
bad. And yeah, so I was brought up really different. I was almost brought up like the Amish. We didn't watch a lot of TV. We only watched the
Mhm.
local news, and the local news in North Dakota is different from the media, right? They actually report, like, hey, this rancher, a cow died, and there's this big winter storm coming in. So the news was pretty
Oh,
legit
okay.
up there. I don't know what it is anymore, but anyway, so you can kind of get an idea. I just grew up very conservative. Great parents, great family, and yeah, just in a good state. And I think, I mean, there's a lot about me, but that's kind of like the
Mhm.
basics of who I am. And
Okay.
yeah, and then I eventually moved down to here in Arizona 6 years ago when I was 26 years old.
Okay. So that's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of someone being punished that way.
Yeah, like
I
we
like
would
that.
hate to have to stay inside,
Yeah.
so like if we
Mhm.
got punished, we couldn't go out and help dad because we wanted to be outside. We wanted to go help, see what he was up to. We hated being locked inside. So that's why I love nature. I love being outside because,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, it's like a punishment. Yeah. That's why I didn't like the lockdown.
Yeah, I
The
can imagine.
lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you moved to Arizona, and then so how did you get started on social media?
Yeah, so basically what I had done is I had built my body, and then I had created my own tile business called Muscle Tile. So it
Okay.
kind of went hand to hand. Yeah,
Mhm.
so then it kind of grabs people's attention. You always want something different. Everybody always goes by the name, their last name Tile. Like for me, it would be
Mhm.
like Barnes Tile. Well, I was like, I want to go something different. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to build my body up. I'm going to gain respect, and then I'm going to start a tile business. I'm going to call it Muscle Tile. So I did that, and sure enough, like all these older ladies were like, yeah, let's get this guy because he's young, he's buff, let's get him in our house. And then I always obviously made sure that I could do the work well as well. And
Yeah.
when they found out that I communicated very well, and
Mhm.
that I did a good job on their projects, and I was just a good old farm boy that worked hard, they loved me. And then that started spreading, like a virus,
Mhm.
and everybody started calling me. And then I got really busy, and then I eventually uh, started basically getting to the point where people are like, "Hey, what you're doing is so different. You got this look. You have this tile company. You should think about going on social media." And okay, I was like, "That's a good idea, right?"
Mhm.
And so I was like, "All right," and I wouldn't do it, right? I was just busy. I was working out. I just recently got married, and and then finally, my brother of all people, and I always, my brother's a great guy. He's like, Davey, you need to get on Instagram. This is when Instagram was first starting out. It was like
Okay.
2013 or 14. Yeah. I mean, it started earlier than that, but it wasn't like
Mhm.
it was kind of getting big at that
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'll get on it. So I made it,
Mhm.
and I would start to post pictures of me in the job and me with my wife, and just the kind of funny, goofy. I didn't really care. I was just kind of posting it, and I mean, it was crazy because I would get all these likes and comments, and I was gaining followers, and I was at 20,000 and 50,000. I was like, geez, and then I was like, huh. I need to start making this a job because all these people like what
Yeah.
I post. Apparently, they're saying I'm different. Like they can tell I'm just being me, and
Mhm.
And then I was like, I need to start making this a business, because now I can have a second business. I can have my towel business, and then I can also have my social media business. I was like, that'd be cool if I could get sponsored, right? So
Yeah.
then I was like, all right, I'm all in. So I bought a camera. I started taking better pictures. I started working with these smaller companies that would just, have me as an ambassador, because you got to start somewhere.
Hmm.
And then eventually it just snowballed into, bigger sponsorships, and then TV shows were reaching out to me, and then, magazine covers like Muscle and Fitness, and then it just got crazy. And it's basically I was being my own agent. And then,
Hmm.
but I know why that happened. So I believe in God, and I believe He has a purpose for me. So I know He did that to get me to, I think He prepared me for 2020, guys, honestly, because now all I want to do is just share the truth. I want to expose the lies that are, in today's society. And now I just have that want and that will to just get the truth out there. So, yeah, I know I'm being used, and that's kind of how I started social media.
I think that's really cool that you're using it for good. I like that.
Oh, 100%. Sometimes I can
Yeah.
use, God has smacked me a few times because I've used it for the bad sometimes. That's the thing about
How
social
so?
media. And yeah, I'll explain. So I'm not
Okay.
by means that big on social media. I mean, it's all relative, right? There's people like The Rock, Dan Bilzerian, like,
Mhm.
the celebrities and whatnot. Um, I'm not even close to them, but I have enough followers that you can use it for the bad. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, I would be upset because somebody would say something or do something, or call
Mhm.
my wife, or it just something that would piss me off. And then what I'll do is I can post them, and I have the power to where if I want, I can have all my followers
Uh,
attack
okay.
and ruin their life. And I did that a few times where, you know where I did, they were hassling me and my wife because they're going to get down on social media, and you can
Hmm.
ultimately destroy their business, their life. You can scare them. People, some of my followers are unfortunately not that good people either, because like there's people everywhere following me, and they
Yeah.
sometimes will threaten them, and it's just not good. So you have to make sure, like on Spider-Man, he says, with great power comes
Mm.
great responsibility. I always wonder what that meant, but it's true. So when you have, this power, you have to be careful to not use it for the bad. So, like, the other day I did post a restaurant because they are forcing the vaccine for you to eat.
Mm.
And I thought through before I did. I was like, okay, do I actually want to do this? Because I know all my followers are going to go over there and write 1-star reviews. But I was like, I think this would be a time where, it's good, because I'm saying it for my freedom, our freedom. and
Hmm.
um and I think it's a good thing that we fight back. So for something like that, I'm like, I
Yeah.
think it's okay. I'm not trying to threaten her or ruin her life, but I want her to know that we're not okay with you forcing vaccines to get into this restaurant. So for
Right.
something like that, I'll do that. But yeah, I 100% try to use it only for the good. And but
Hmm.
I'm not perfect, so sometimes I get a little fed up and angry, and I want to
It
use it for the
happens.
bad, and to get back at somebody like this idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to ignore them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember I found you because you were doing some like silly dances, and it just is
Oh,
not what you would expect from someone who looks like you. You would expect someone like
yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
serious. So I know
Yep.
that caught
Yep.
a lot of other people's attention as well.
Humor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. People like the humor.
yeah, and then so I started following you, and then I saw that you were posting about the vaccine and speaking out the truth, things people didn't want to talk about. And then that's when I had reached out to you. But I remember when I would try to look for you, I had to go into my messages to find you because I couldn't just look up your name. You wouldn't come up, your fan page would come up. When was the first time that you realized you were being censored?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Actually, it was way before 2020. So
Really?
yes, I have always kind of spoken up um against society. I never like to go with the crowd, because generally when you're going with the crowd, it's a deception. It's kind of Satan's tactic for an agenda that usually isn't good. It may not appear bad, but it usually isn't good. So I remember, and this is very, a subject that nobody likes to talk about, but we all know that the ultimate goal in this world, in America, is to destroy traditional family. Because once you destroy traditional family,
Yeah.
it happened in Egypt, it happened in Rome, the nations fall, and you are entitled to do your own thing, homosexuality and that whatnot. But when you're trying to guilt people who are straight and who frankly don't want to be part of that, um, that's when it becomes an issue. So people were literally commenting and saying like terrible comments, like, you know, we're gonna make you, cheat on your wife, and we're gonna convert you to be gay, and we're gonna do, and I got pissed one, and I finally said, hey, I said, you guys are disgusting for what you're saying. You can do your own thing, but don't come to my page and try to make me convert when I'm straight. I like women, just like how God had intended it. And
Yeah.
then of course, and this is where it started, and then they screenshot that, and then they put it on this forum, and then they start calling me a homophobe, which I don't care. I'm not a homophobe. I have gay friends, and my gay friends actually agree with me. They're like, dude, that is not okay. They shouldn't be doing that. And then anyway, so from there,
So
and then
that's
I made a post
harassment.
about, yeah, oh, for sure. And then I
Yeah.
made a post
Yeah.
about traditional marriage, how I stand up for traditional marriage. And in the end, homosexuality is a sin. And nobody will say that nowadays. I'll say it. It is a
Yeah.
sin. Trust me, I got my own sin. I'm not saying I'm or I'm guilt free from sin, but that is in the Bible. It's mentioned many times. I'm not going to judge you for it, but it is not okay, in God's eyes. And I would say that, and people would just get furious. And then ever since I did that, then Instagram deleted my account because I don't know if it was Instagram. It might have been all the very, very extreme,
Mm.
because there's some cool gay conservative people, but I think it was the extremists, like the very far left LGBT, gay community. They were so mad because I said that, because I was speaking the truth. And then,
Oh
so then
wow.
I think that they were the ones that ended up deleting my account, and I had 260,000 followers. And I mean, I'd put in all the work, the money, the time, just gone. It was just gone. And I woke up and it was just deleted. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, what? And then ever since then, my account has never been the same. I ended up having to, get some guy to bring it back. And it took him forever. And I brought it back. And then after that, then I got in the Titan games. And then I got it verified, which kind of secured it a little bit.
Okay.
But I also, yeah, but I also, you know, but anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. And then anyway, and then my views used to be 30,000 on my stories, on my Instagram stories,
Hmm.
like 30,000, which isn't a lot actually for 270 some
Yeah.
thousand followers. Then they dropped it to 5,000 views. Okay.
Oh wow.
And then last year, when I started speaking out against the vaccines, the masks, all the corruption going on, then they dropped my views again from 5,000 down to like 900 views. And then they made it to where, like what you were saying, when people type in my username, it doesn't
Hmm.
come up. So you don't see Davy Michael. You only see these fake pages or fan pages.
Hmm.
So they censored me there. They, I don't know who deleted my account in the first place, but it was deleted, first. I got it back. And then on top of that, they made it to where no one was seeing my posts. So, and people would message me, a lot of people, and they're like, hey, I didn't unfollow you, and it's showing that I'm not following you. They're like, I swear Instagram's unfollowing me. And I would think that was a coincidence if it was one person, but I was getting
Hmm.
tons of messages. And actually I had another guy saying that. He's like, it was a dude I worked out with just yesterday. He messaged me and he's like, hey man, I didn't unfollow you, but for some reason this account unfollowed you. So
That's crazy.
yeah, a lot of fishy stuff. Oh, and I have even more. So there's this really good documentary. You guys got to check it out. Outofshadows.org. You got to watch that video, right? They uploaded on YouTube back in 2020, and it kind of exposes everything going on. It shares the truth. This guy that worked in Hollywood who came to know God, he knows like the ins and outs of Hollywood. And that video had 17 million views within like the first 4 or 5 days, but then YouTube took it down. Well, then they put it on their website to where it can't get taken down,
Hmm.
and that's still up there. But when I go to share it, and I actually have posted this on my Instagram, I'll type in, I'll send it to a friend in DM, and I'll go www.outofshadows.org, send, and when I go send, it goes boop, and it says you cannot send certain content, and then you have to press OK, and it kind of takes this white screen and it kicks you out of Instagram. Like you feel like you're almost getting disabled. And then after, when I go back, it just shows an X, like I couldn't send it. And then, I mean,
Wow.
when you're a public figure, people don't know the things that we see on our end. Like they'll literally delete. I'll be messaging my friend in LA. He's super, he's awake to everything going on, and he's sharing truth with me, and I'm sharing truth with him. And we'll be sending stuff, and then he'll just be gone. And we're like, bro, look at this. And then he's like, I know, right? And then we'll text each other or use this different app, and then we kind of almost joke about it because it's just so crazy that they're
Yeah.
censoring, deleting, like they're literally watching everything we're sending. At this point, I don't really care, but yeah, it's really bad, guys. And the more following you have, the more you'll see it, because they want to shut us up because we have a voice.
Mhm.
And people are like, oh, well, it's social media, it doesn't matter. It's not. No, it does matter, because think about it. Who actually goes outside and who just stands there and listens to people talk. Like, I would be talking to the tree. Nobody's going to listen to me when I go outside. Everybody will listen when I'm on social media. So social media
Right.
is now your voice, and they know
Mhm.
that. So they're trying to take that away.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't give it as much credit as it deserves because they're like, "Oh, if I want to know something, I'll just watch the news." When the news are being censored as well, and some of the things they tell
Oh
you isn't
yeah.
true.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I always say this, for all of the, lies, there is truth. There has to be truth when there's lies,
Mhm.
because if everything was a lie, then this world wouldn't work. So there is truth out there, and there's some news sources that do try to honestly tell the truth, but the majority of the news, the big five biggest corporations, are all owned by the same
Mm.
biz company, I should say. And they're all feeding them what they should post, and they even have lines, they have endings, they say, they have these quotes they're supposed to say. It's all propaganda, and
Mhm.
that's it's spiritual warfare, is really, at the end of the day, what it is. Research spiritual
Yeah.
warfare, that goes really deep, but it's also psychological warfare. And that's what I try to tell people. That's what I'm trying to tell people is wake up, because when you go on your phone and you see Google, everything you see on there, you turn on your radio, you hear about the vaccines, you look up, you see the billboards above you that say get your vaccine, you turn on the TV, it's everywhere, and you just have to shut that off and realize that that's what they want. They want you to just be pressured into thinking that this is what you should
Yeah.
do, and it's okay. But we need to wake up to that, and yeah, that's kind of what's been going on lately.
It kind of blows my mind how a lot of the things they say don't really make sense or they just don't add up, and people they're like, "Don't question them, just do what they tell you. Stop being like that." And it's like
Yeah,
that's like the most dangerous thing you can do, not question your authorities.
correct. Because, and here's what, yes, and here's what I tell people is, you have to remember, guys, it's actually a Bible verse. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. So the main thing
Mhm.
is, we got to find the root of what's going on. So money itself isn't necessarily evil, but if you love it so much that you will do anything to get it, then that
Yep.
that is evil. And here's what you guys have to remember. So all these people, these officials, these doctors, Dr. Fauci, they're all some of the wealthiest people in the world. Okay. Now you got to remember, when you're getting paid that much money and they're that wealthy, are their intentions good? That's something you have to ask yourself. Maybe some people's intentions are good, but a lot of times they aren't, and it's all about money. You got to remember that, money. And then
Mhm.
there's times when people get so wealthy that they have so much money that it's not about money anymore. Now what's it about? Agenda. They want power. They want agenda, because we all can agree that we always want to, well, the majority of us, we always want to get better. What can we do now? Okay, we started this company, now let's do this. Well, you got to remember, when people are like some of the wealthiest people in the world, now they're like, what should I do? You know what? I'm going to try to change this world. And I'm going to try. And some of them think that they're actually doing good. Like there's some people out there that are very powerful and wealthy, and they actually want to depopulate the world. And some
Mhm.
people would be like, that's sinister, that's evil. But they think that it's helping the planet. They think it's good. So then by depopulating the world, they
Yep.
think that they're doing good. So in their mind, they think it's good. And And
Mhm.
that's also part of an agenda. Look that up, how they want to depopulate the world. And not all of them, but some of them, that's a big goal for them.
Yeah. I was just talking to a friend on Friday about it, and she was like, "I just don't, she was like, those people that are saying that it was made in a lab and that they're trying to kill us." She was like, "I just want to believe that there aren't people who are that evil." And I'm like, "But you have to understand, there are people who are that evil."
There
And when
are.
it comes she's like, "But
Yes.
why?" And I'm like, "Money. It all comes down to money."
Yes. Yep. Yep. Money, power. I've been in Hollywood. I know people. I've seen the corruption. I won't say it on this podcast, but there's tons of evil out there, guys. Trust me. That's what the devil does. Is he makes it seem like, oh, everything's good, the world's good, everything's good. And I try not to talk about it too much because I think sometimes it's just best to not know what goes on out there. But I can promise
Mhm.
you there's evil. I've seen some of it with my own eyes. I have brothers that are paratroopers. I have one that works in Washington, D.C. I've, you know, done private security. I've worked out in Hollywood. I've seen that there is indeed evil, and there are people that are that evil. And
Yeah.
but you know, but some people don't want to accept it. And I've had some people say this to my face, and I get that. Like they literally are like, you know what? I know it's true, but I can't accept that because it would just mess me up. And I'm like, and then when they admit that, I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Okay, you know what? You said it was, you know, it's true, but some people just can't fathom that because
Mhm.
they've been brought up that there's not that much evil, like everything's good, but unfortunately there is, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't like breaking that to people. Like I wish I could be like, oh no, it's a good world out there, you know.
Yeah.
People's agendas are great, they care about your health, but it's just not how it is. You know, not everybody's like you and
Yeah.
I, where we
Yeah.
have good hearts and we love God, love people, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I can understand that because it's like if you're not a bad person, well, a lot of people think other people are the way they are, so it's hard for them to understand
Yes.
what they're not the same. And there's times when I read stuff
Yes.
and there's times when I get overwhelmed and I'm like, because of my mental health, I'm gonna put this phone down or I'm gonna stop reading whatever I'm reading. I'm like, I just need a break because it's too much for me right now. I understand it's true, but I just need a break right now.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's times and places I don't think it's good to always feed your mind that stuff. You need to be careful and
Yeah.
protect it. Um, it's good to be awake and know what goes on, but you don't want to overdo it and just fill your mind with that because that's obviously not healthy either. So you want to be aware, but you don't want to saturate your brain with it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because it can
Yeah.
get to be, you can start to get like crazy in a way, you know?
Mhm. So, like the way we're being censored right now, it's a little, well, it's not a little, it's very scary, I think, because if you look at other countries, that's how they started off. If you look at Cuba, if you look at Venezuela,
Yes.
do you think we're going in the same direction? Do you think their
Um,
goal is to make to for the US to become a dictatorship?
well, of course, I've read the New World Order book. It's really interesting. You guys should check it out. And the ultimate goal is a one world government. They want the whole entire world to be
Mm,
governed by one government where basically this main government says this is how it's going to go, and then the whole world has to do it. It makes it easier to control the world. They make more money. Um, they can complete their agendas that way. So to do that, they have to take out these more free countries, like we have a republic. It's not even a democracy. A democracy is actually more the government. I mean, we're kind of getting into the democracy realm, but we've always been a republic where us, the people, we're supposed to, the government is to help us genuinely. And we are technically, we're supposed to be over the government. Well, now we felt that the government is finally now slowly they're trying, and
mm,
because of people, they're starting to take control. And that's what's dangerous is you're right, because once they do that, what's the first thing to do? So that's why the First Amendment is freedom of speech,
mm,
because once you take
yeah,
your voice away, the rest is easy. Like now, like we can take our guns away because now they don't have a voice. So it's very dangerous when you do that, when you mess around with taking the First Amendment away, even if it's on social media. It's very dangerous because that's the first thing you always take away when a country falls. And we're feeling it.
mhm,
We are. And even like the people
yeah,
on, the left, they can see it, and some of them are message me and they're like, man, dude, they're like, I may not agree with everything you say, but I think it's wrong that they're censoring you because everybody should be able to say what they want in
yeah,
America. And I respect that. Thank you for saying that, So
Mm-hmm.
even the left is actually kind of seeing it. And I think eventually the left is going to get sick of it too, um because they may not agree with everything. Maybe right
Mm-hmm.
now or maybe back in 2020 they agreed with most of it, but that's the other issue, guys. You have to remember, even if you agree, like just say that the government was censoring people that didn't agree with me, I would not be okay with that, because they should still have a voice, even
Mm-hmm.
if I disagree, because the government could then do that to me 2 years later. So that's why you have to
Yeah.
remember that, they'll
Mm-hmm.
end up doing it to you too down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And now that you mentioned the First Amendment, let's go into the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, gun violence and guns are bad and whatnot. And I was watching a video from what's going on in Cuba, and it's a video of the military going in, shooting the husband, and the lady's just screaming and she can't do anything about it. And I feel like it's not until you see things like that that you understand, like, the guns are there to protect yourself from the government. The government can turn on you.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't want to see that. They're like, no, no, they're here. They
Yeah.
just think the government's looking out for their best interest.
Correct.
And
Yes. Yeah. 2 points on that. The first one is, we have to remember that people will kill people no matter what. So when they had rocks, they would stone people to death. What if we take away guns? People will just stab each other with knives. So, people can use a car. It happened with my friend a couple months ago. She was killed by a drunk driver.
I'm
People will
sorry.
use big sticks. People will use their fists. So we can all agree that people will kill people no matter what. So the
Mm-hmm.
whole gun kills people. Yes, guns, I mean, the person controlling the gun can kill people. We know that. But taking away guns won't help people killing people. Again, we got to find the root of the problem, right? So taking
Mm-hmm.
away guns doesn't help anyone from killing people. Yeah, it may be like no killings from guns, but now everybody will be killing each other with knives, which is actually more brutal. My brothers in the military said, trust me, you would way rather get killed by a gun than a knife. He's like, the things I've seen, he's like, you don't want to ever see. He's like, knife killings and stabbings are brutal. Imagine getting tore apart by a knife, but that's another subject. So that's the one point. The second point is you need guns, because think about it. If now they are taking away our First Amendment, and then the military tries to come in and control all the people, if we didn't have guns, what would we do? Like, we could have a little knife and we could be like, oh, well, don't come in, and they'll just shoot you. So now they
Mm-hmm.
have all the guns because the government's always going to have guns. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
you can't let the government have, guns and then us not, and take them away from us, because now you literally have, and you're like, oh, that would never happen. Well, look in history. I made a post about it. There's been millions and millions of people slaughtered by the government because they took their guns away. A
Mm-hmm.
lot in the 1900s. So you have to get educated on your history and use DuckDuckGo. Google will hide a lot of this. Google is part of this agenda.
Yeah.
So use different browsers, because when you use different browsers and you go on and you research stuff, your mind will be blown at the stuff that you thought was just, Google will just think about it. We just trust when we say, hey, how old is blah blah blah, or hey Siri. We just trust that information is true. But remember, they're telling us what we should believe. So you have to do your research, even if you think, oh, Google would never lie to us. Why do you think Google would never lie to you?
Yeah.
Why do you think TV would never lie to you? So you have to really watch out with that.
Yeah. Also, another thing on the guns, people don't realize that the bad people, the criminals, they're gonna find a way to have guns. So now you have all the
Yes.
criminals and the government with guns, and you, a civilian, unarmed.
Yes, and
Yeah.
this is an argument that we always make as well. You're right. And then let's just say, okay, so we do take away guns, right? That's the problem. Is, like she said, the bad people, that it's all the good people like us. We carry guns. We will never shoot anyone just to shoot them. Like, we're not bad. We got good hearts. We only have it to protect us. Like, if somebody was trying to kill my wife or my kids or my family, then I would shoot back, and I would have to do what I'd have to
Mhm.
do. But that's to protect my family. But the bad people, even if they take all the guns away from everybody, like myself, like you, like, all the good people, what it's doing is, and think about this, you got to be open-minded. It's only taking away the guns from all the good people so they can protect themselves from the governments or the criminals. because the criminals, we all know, will get a hold of the guns, because you can still get a hold of guns, illegally. And they do that. And they don't
Yep.
care. They don't care if it says no gun zone in a mall. Do criminals care about that? No. So yeah, it's pretty obvious,
Yeah. And then you were talking about Google, asking Google questions. It reminded me. I think it was on TikTok, and it said go to Google and ask. I don't remember if it was like who's the best doctor or who's the richest doctor, or who's the. Did you see that? I don't
Yeah,
remember what
yes.
exactly it was, but you Google it and Bill
It'll say
Gates.
Dr. Fauci, right?
No,
It'll say
Bill
Dr.
Gates.
Fauci.
Bill Gates.
That's even worse. Okay, guys. So remember, yeah. See, and that's the thing is all you got. And here's another point I want to make. Okay, remember the verse I said, the love of money is the root of all people. Think about this. This is where character comes into play. So just say that you were put in a position where you were a governor or even the president of the United States. All it takes is Billy to be like, hey, here's $2 billion, but I want you to make sure that the whole entire country is on lockdown and that they have to wear masks and get the vaccine. You have to hope that that person taking the 2 billion is going to be like, you know what, Bill, that's wrong. I'm not going to do this. But that's a problem, is a lot of people accept the money. So where I'm going with this is all it takes is Bill Gates and these super, I'm not saying, I don't know for a fact if Bill Gates is doing this, but I'm just saying, you got to question yourself. If Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, all these super uber wealthy people are saying, hey, Google, there's owners of Google, there's owners of YouTube. Hey, if you say this and you put this as, when you ask questions, or if you put this in your newsfeed, we will give you $5 billion or 10 billion, or I don't know, maybe less, millions. They'll do it because it's money. So that, again, money runs the world. Always follow the money. And that's why you got to be so careful to trust the authorities. And that's why I personally like Trump, because he lost billions. When he was president, he lost, I think it was $1 billion. He wasn't in there he truly wanted to try to make America great again. And in the 1980s, in an interview, he said that. He's like, I don't want to become president, but if it gets bad enough, he's like, I may consider it. Well, then he did, and he got, scrutinized, and people hated him, and he lost money. So that's why I had more trust in Trump. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm saying, he wasn't in there. He already had his money. He had already kind of done what he wanted. And he just, it bothered him, kind of like me. It bothers me that, like, why are we doing this and this? And, if I were to do it, I wouldn't do it for the money. I would do it because I want to truly try to protect our people, stand up for freedom. And that's why I personally, liked Trump. But yes, I agree. Like, it's all about, who's paying who to say certain things. Just like with Bill Gates. Bill Gates isn't even a doctor, by the way.
Exactly.
He's just a guy with a lot of money.
So you're like, why does Google say that? It's like, what?
It's annoying because he totally, when he came out with Microsoft, he totally came out with the virus for your your computers. And it's smart. These people are smart. Remember, they're the richest people in the world. So they're very, smart with these things. They're sly. So then he would create a virus on his computers, and then he would go and he'd sell anti-software. So now he's going to make even more money, kind of sounds familiar nowadays,
Yeah. And that's what I keep hearing. Like, that's what happened with the vaccine. Someone posted, and of course the post got taken down, that it was patented. The COVID was, that it was created in China. It was patented.
COVID was patented. That's correct.
Yes. And then now that we have the vaccine, so there's obviously the CDC is pushing for everybody to get the vaccine, and they're paying the news. They're paying so many people to push it. I don't know if you've heard of Ivory Hecker, the news reporter from Fox.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So she's my friend, right? And she used to work for Fox until she exposed them. But she had recordings of them, and she had interviewed a doctor asking him about hydrochloroquine. I think that's how you say it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hydrochloroquine. Or I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. And she asked him, have you heard of it? Have you used it? And the doctor said, yes, we've used it and we've had success with it. So as a reporter, she gets her story, turns it into her supervisor. Supervisor says, take off the last part about the doctor and don't be sticking your nose where you shouldn't be. She's like, focus on the vaccine. Yeah, right now she's like going around all over talking about everything that they told her not to say. But yeah, she got
Yep.
fired after she exposed him, and the
Goes back to
CDC pays
money.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It all goes back to money. I mean, if think about it, if everybody uses the hydro, I'll just call it that for short,
Mm.
then there's no need for a vaccine, and now we're actually seeing that the vaccine doesn't even help anyway. So again, it all goes back to money, and that's why a lot of people are losing trust. But I think we needed to go through this because I think so many people were going in for drugs. They weren't taking care of their bodies. They were eating all the crap food. They put so much stuff in our food, our water, our toothpaste, and people just weren't being aware of it. And now I think they're finally waking up like, maybe I should watch what I eat and, put in my body. So maybe in a
Yeah.
way, and I remember Trump saying this last year. He's like, he was standing up there and he's like, I got a lot of people that aren't very happy with me. He's like, I'm trying to take out the big dogs. I'm at war with big pharma. And let me put it this way. There's a lot of people that don't like me. And then he's like, this may be the last time you see me in a while. And I was like, huh. So we have to thank him. I'm not saying that Trump gets all the credit for everything, but we have to thank him for at least trying to expose the fake news, because he
Mhm.
did. He exposed the fake news to us. He kept saying
Yeah.
fake news, fake news. And
Yeah.
it's not helping him in any way. He's just trying to expose it to people because so many people are blind to it.
Mhm.
And then he was now trying to help us, maybe think for ourselves and be like, what, maybe we don't need these drugs. Maybe we don't need these vaccines. I know some people say, oh, Trump got the vaccine. I don't know. I have no clue if he did or didn't. If he did, that's his business. I'm personally not gonna. I still don't want
Mhm.
to, so
Yeah.
I can still disagree with some things. And I don't
Yeah.
always agree with Trump on everything. You know, for me personally, I'm not going to, because I never have. I think the only vaccines I've ever gotten in my life is like the measles when I was born, but I didn't even get the chickenpox one. I got chickenpox. And
Okay.
so far I've been a healthy horse and I've been blessed. And
Yeah.
we ate food from our garden. Like we would literally have a garden out on our farm,
Mhm.
and we would eat our own meat. And people are like, oh, you got good genetics. Well, remember, genetics come from how you were raised. So the reason why me and my brothers are all big, and my sister, she's strong, she's got big biceps, we're healthy, is because we would drink our own cow milk. We would drink food out of our garden. We would be outside all day in the sun. We were free from the television, the video games. Like our mind was healthy, and
Mhm.
and that's why I am who I am today. I know it because I see things differently. Like when you're not raised
Mhm.
like that, it's not your fault, but you're not going to see the same way that I do.
Right. And I think that's so awesome. I eventually want to get land because I'm like, I keep telling my boyfriend, I'm like, we need to start planting our own food. We need to start buying animals because this is
It's
just getting
so
worse.
great. Yeah. Yes, my dad.
Yeah.
And that's the bad part is China has bought over 80,000 acres of land in Texas and New Mexico, and I don't know, but I'm sure they have bought land in Arizona here. And it's all on the border. So then they technically have
Um,
control of the border. So
okay.
yeah, that's the thing is, as I actually want to buy land close to the border down in Arizona to where I own that land. And you're right, I
Mhm.
want to do the same thing because my dad has 2,000 acres. He's got firewood
That's
for
awesome.
years. He's got a self-burning, furnace. They have a garden. They have a backup generator. They could live out, like during 2020, my parents lived out there. They didn't notice one thing. There was nothing different. They kept living their lives. They were happy. Dad would just go outside. That's what I want. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing about cities too, is cities are just not safe at the end of the day. And you
Yeah.
rely so much on people and trucks coming in and
Mhm.
food and water. And it's like, if something were to happen, what would you do? A lot of people would end up dying. So I think
Yeah.
you're right. It's very important to get your own land, get your little
Yeah.
garden, and
Yeah.
yeah, just to be safe.
Yeah. And then going back to what you were talking about, since you were talking about Trump and the border and how the media manipulates information, like he's like the perfect example of how easy it is to brainwash people. Like so many people hated him, like with a passion. And a lot of them, like, okay, for example, Mexicans, they were like, no, he said we were criminals and rapists. And it's like, well, he said some people are. And if you go down to the border, why don't you go look for yourself? Like, do you know what's going on in the border? But because he said it and because the media turned it into something huge,
Because
they just
people,
hate
yeah,
him. Yeah. And
because
it just
people
blows
don't
my mind.
live, yeah, people don't live in the border in New Mexico, Arizona, or Texas. Come down to Arizona here, and you won't think that anymore, because there's literally drug cartel about 20 miles south of Phoenix. Here in the mountains, you'll be hiking. Hikers will say they'll go up and they'll literally come across drug cartel, and they're smuggling drugs or trafficking. There are. Trump is right.
Yeah.
There's crazy people are trafficking kids. You really want kids being trafficked? Okay, we have no problem with good people coming in, but then you come in. It's like this. It's like this as an example. You really think that if some random person knocked on my door and I just didn't question them, or I didn't see their credentials or who they are, would I just let them in with my family? Absolutely not. It's the same thing with a
Yeah.
country, because you got to remember, it's not just Mexicans coming in. You know what happens? ISIS, terrorists, they come in and then they're like, oh, cool, the border is really easy. So then they come into Mexico and then they come in. So we're getting a lot of ISIS. And what they're doing is they're infiltrating their grounds throughout the US. And then we're gonna have more terrorism, and that's the problem is you're allowing very evil people to come in with sinister agendas. You can't allow that. And you have to have a border.
Yeah.
Yes, you got to let people in, the good people with time, with credentials, but you can't just let everybody and anybody in. I mean, that's common sense. I don't even need to explain that. So of
Yeah.
course, why would the media, and I don't even understand why the media would make that bad. Like, why would they, like, I would think that you would want your country somewhat protected,
Yeah. Yeah. I
I don't
don't know,
know.
but they knew exactly where to hit people apparently, because it worked. It
It
and I've
does,
had this
yeah.
discussion with other people, like, other Mexicans who just hate him, and they're like, "Oh, if you voted for Trump, you're racist," or "How could you?" and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, even before because okay, so a few years ago, whenever the George Floyd thing happened, that's when I got interested in politics. Before that, I knew nothing. I didn't even know there was a blue and red side. I didn't care about
Yeah,
politics at all.
yeah,
So before that, so whenever he said that, that was a few years back, and even some people that I work with had asked me, they're like, "What do you think about what he said?" I was like, "What did he say?" Like, I didn't know, I didn't care, and they were like, "Oh, he said
yeah,
that some people are blah blah blah," and I was like, "Okay," I was like, "Well," I was like, "They are," I was like, "I mean, I guess he could have said it nicer, but," I was like, "Yeah,
yeah,
it's true, so I'm not mad. Why would I be mad?" And they were like, "Most people are mad,
exactly.
right?" And I'm like, okay, why? Like it didn't make sense to me. But I guess if you're watching the news every night and you keep hearing it over and over, like, oh my God, he said this, how could he? And you just start believing, oh my God, he's so horrible. He's such a horrible person.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, that's what the media does. They do that to
Yeah.
where then you think that way, and then they deceive people, and then because again, they want them to vote for their party. And I'm not going to say all Republicans are, good too. I think remember, it goes back to money. I generally think
Yeah.
that the Republican side are generally, most of the time they are better. And, but there's still some dirty, look, there's dirty politicians, there's dirty,
Hmm.
celebrities, there's, in the military, there's generals that are dirty. So, that's just going to happen. So I try to more base my opinion on, okay, let me see their life. What's their intention? How are they, what policies are they, like, I don't care if they're a little bit blunt or talk a little. Sometimes you actually have to be. Honestly,
Hmm.
the society gets too soft to where you don't want to be, super, super like unloving and mean, but sometimes you have to be a little bold, because when you're not, that's how people will bully you. And to
Hmm.
be a leader, you have to be bold. And I actually respect that Trump just says it how it is. And honestly, with
Yeah.
how much he was getting attacked and the lies nowadays, you have to act how he acts to get the truth out, and you can't let anybody stomp on you or bully you. So it's just you kind of have to be that way if you want to make change. Because think about it, Jesus was literally killed, crucified for stating the truth. People don't like the truth. So when you state the truth, you're going to be hated, you know? And
Yeah.
I feel it, like, I'm definitely not nowhere where, Trump's popularity or obviously Jesus's popularity, but, I feel it even just at my little following. I'll speak things that just piss, but I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why are people getting mad? Like, don't you want to hear, in the end, I
Yeah.
think it would help everybody, but I guess they just don't want to hear it. And I don't understand that.
Yeah, same. Like I feel like you said, you have to be careful of both sides. Like if you're a Democrat, make sure you're checking your politicians. If you're a Republican, make sure you're
Yes.
checking your politicians. What bothers me is when they're like, because they're that party, I'm close to everything and anything they say, and they just don't want a reason. It's like,
Yes.
okay, look, this
Yes.
makes sense. And they're like, no, but because he's a Republican or because he's a Democrat or whatever, and they just close
Yep.
themselves off. And I'm like, you can't do that.
Yeah, you have to. Here's what here, and this is just, and I think most would agree, but you have to, you know, put the sides away. And here's how I would, if Trump ever did something or said something that I totally disagree on, or I found out he was bad or this or that, then I would accept that. So you can't base everything off your emotions and feelings, and just be like, oh well, that's my side. You know, I'm still gonna believe it. Like, no, don't do that. And
Yeah,
I won't do that. If I find out like for example, there's a lot of celebrities, I won't say their names because, I just not going to do that, but I love them. They were like, man, they're so cool. He's awesome. Like, oh man. And then I found out they were dirty. They're promoted Biden and Harris. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you
I
serious?
think
And I
I
know
know
they
who
were
you're
just getting
talking
paid.
about.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, are you
Yeah,
serious, man? And I'm like, the reason why I lost respect for him is because I'm like, I know that that's not who you actually want to promote, and you're just doing this for money.
yeah.
So that's where you just have to base it off of, I say, two things: what aligns with the Bible and what aligns with our God-given Constitution. And if that person aligns with the Bible and our Constitution, I'm totally with that person, because that's all you
Mhm,
need. So if they basically American, people say, oh, there's right extremists and left. Um, there's really no right party. It's called Americans. It's that this is what our country is founded on. Is we were founded on a constitution, our God-given rights, and it was based off Christianity. And we're not right-wing conspiracy theorists. We are Americans. The
mhm.
left are just really enemies of our republic. They want to make the country like other countries, which in those countries they try to get into our country. So it makes no
Mhm.
sense, because why would you want our country
Exactly.
to be like the country where people are trying to get into our country? It makes no
Exactly.
sense. Kind of like the people that will move from California out here in Arizona or in Texas, and then
Yeah.
they, oh, we love it out here, and then they vote the same way they did in California. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely no sense. People
Yeah.
people don't think anymore. I think it's the food and the drinks they're eating, and they're just not healthy.
That must be it. Yeah, but I thought it
It's
was
gotta be.
crazy. Yeah. I thought it was crazy how now they're saying the American flag is racist or it's not inclusive.
Everything's
What?
racist. Yeah, anything the left disagrees with, oh, you're racist. I actually make a joke about it. And
Mhm.
this is actually what my dad says. He's right. Anything that the left usually accuses people or parties of is actually what they are. And it's true. A lot of times, if you look at the like Biden and the Democrats, or these, they're truly racist, like bad racist. And then they
Mhm.
say that Trump and the conservatives that were racist, and that's not true. I have
Yeah.
my best friend in high school was an Asian. Okay, I was really good friends with a black. I have so many black friends. I don't care, as long as you're a good person. I don't care what race you are, right? And so then
Mhm.
they'll say, "Oh, I'm racist or I'm homophobic." Not true. I stand up for traditional marriage. Doesn't mean I'm homophobic. I have great gay friends. They're okay with me being believing in traditional marriage. So that's the thing, is once you start putting these labels on people, it's nonsense. It's immature,
Yeah.
because it's not even true. That's the problem. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
there are people that are racist out there. There are people that truly are homophobic. I would say the people that are homophobic are in other countries like Syria, where they're
Mhm.
literally pushing homosexuals off the roof, stoning them to death. That's not okay. That's
Yeah.
that's truly homophobic. We don't
Mhm.
see that in America here. And I don't we don't want to see that in America. But that is
Yeah.
truly homophobic. Racist is literally when you will go murder somebody because of their skin color, or you will shame them in public or make fun of them because of their skin color. That's truly racist.
Mhm.
Not saying, oh, we got to protect our border, and keep these murderers and traffickers, they are Mexican, but that's not, he's not racist saying that. He's just saying that they are Mexican. That's a fact. And there are people that are, trafficking kids, these drug cartels, and that's what he's saying. But people just, hear one thing and then they just believe it.
Yeah. And how you were saying that he says that, if they're calling somebody racist, they're usually the ones who are racist. Like, for example, whenever they tell a Black person or a Hispanic, oh, you can't vote, right, because you're a minority. Well, that right there is
Yeah,
racist.
that's racist.
Like, I don't have a
Yeah,
brain of my own. Like, I can't think for myself.
and I think that truly would be considered racist. And that's what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
but then the news doesn't say anything about it. Like, oh, there, he's fine. He can get away with that comment. But you
Yeah.
know what? People are waking up. People are sick of it.
Yeah.
I now see that they're putting all these eviction notices on Nancy Pelosi's door in California. Like, they're
Really?
literally going up to her house. People can't stand Newsom. If you look at the comments, a lot of people don't even like Biden. Like, they're saying, I regret voting for Biden. There was
Good.
a point when the white hats, the good people, said that these people and these politicians won't be able to walk the streets anymore. We're at that point where they can't even walk the streets because people are waking up. So I think as much as it looks like it's going downhill, some things are. I think that this is good, and it's
Hmm.
waking people up, and more people are now standing up. I know I am. I'm starting to post
Yeah.
more. I started doing private security for Trump rallies, and people are starting to, they actually want to go and be governor. Like, a few of my friends are like, I'm going to be governor of Montana. I just talked to him last night. Other people are like, I want to do this and fix this, and I want to be in the FBI and be a good FBI agent. I'm like, yes, this is
Mm.
what we need. We need good people to stand up,
Yeah.
and we need to start putting more good people in these, because I think we're really close to having, you know, all just terrible people in our FBI, in our military, politicians, and we need more good people, and we need more good
Yeah.
cops too, because now all the good cops
Yeah.
wanting to quit because they're getting scrutinized for doing good. And then what does that mean? Now the bad cops are going to take their places, and now technically the
Mm.
cops are going to actually be bad now. When I really don't think all cops are bad. There's some bad ones, some bad apples, but the
Yeah.
majority of cops that I know, unless you're in
Hmm.
the depths of the city of Chicago or LA, generally they're good people. Like, I know them, they're friends, they believe what we believe, and they do want to protect and serve. So
Hmm. Yeah, and that's good. Like I mentioned before, the whole George Floyd thing, I knew nothing about politics. I didn't care. But when I started seeing how they kept like making his story such a big deal, I was like, okay, I'm like, I know Black people die more. This isn't like somebody killed a white man killed a Black person, like, so now it's huge and it's racist and it's all this. I was like, what is really going on? So then that's when I started doing research, as that's when I found Candace Owens. And then she started talking about how they were using that, for something else. And I was like, okay, so I was right, what I was thinking. And then that's when I went down the rabbit hole and I was like, okay. I'm like, well,
yeah,
I woke
once
up.
you down that, yes, very
Yeah.
much so. And that's what they just want to keep everybody blind, and they want to really keep the Black community blind, to the truth of what's really going on. Because again, how you fix issues is you get to the root of the problem. When you find the root, that's how you start fixing things. So they don't ever want you get to the root. And when I say root, you guys know, obviously, most of you know, the root in a plant or tree is way down the bottom, the very depth of the tree. That's the goal to fixing issues. You got to get to the bottom of it, right? It's kind of like having a huge, open wound, and you just put a little band-aid over it. That doesn't help it. So
Mm.
you got to get to the root of it. You got to fix it up. And they don't want you to get to that part. So they want to distract you with the little things on top of, like, oh, it's racism, this and that. And it's like, and then people are like, oh yeah, 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 but they don't actually get to the bottom of it. And that's how the news deceives you, is because they want to just kind of keep you up here just thinking this and that, and getting mad and mess with your emotions, when they're distracting you from really looking at what's really going on. And that's why it's so
Yeah.
important to get involved, to start voting, start paying attention, because that's what
Hmm.
sports are for. Sports, when you watch restaurants, TVs everywhere, bars, alcohol, women, for some ladies, men, like, it just, all these distractions are to
Mm-hmm.
distract you from what's really going on in this world, and you need to be alert and put on your full armor of God. I love that verse. And just be
Yeah,
alert to the
me
devil's
too.
tactics. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
it's spiritual warfare.
for sure.
And I would suggest to get the New World Order book. It's amazing. Read
I'm gonna
it.
have to
It'll
read it.
blow your mind. Yeah, yeah. It's a little troubling. It can be scary, but it's good. I would read it for sure. It'll definitely wake you
Okay.
up. And he wrote it, and I think in
Yeah.
1992, and it's kind of
Wow.
interesting to see, the things now of where it's kind of,
It's all
going.
happening. Everything he said,
Some
or no?
things, it's
Okay.
slow. Yeah, yeah. Like what he was saying is definitely happening, and we've been seeing
Mm.
it since who knows how long. It's probably the whole 1900s. It's slowly. I mean, this is what's crazy, and this is a whole different subject, but they actually made electric vehicles in the 19, I think 20s or 30s. I can't remember, but they
Uh-huh.
did. They had electric vehicles, and then the guy that had built it and was wanted to come out with it, he was killed, you know, because money, oil, right? The oil industry, huge,
Mm.
gas. So they didn't want electric out. Well, now the reason why they're okay with electric and they're pushing electric is because they have now been able to take control and work out, deals with the electric companies. So now they have now they can make
Mm.
money, and that's always what it comes down to, money. So now when they're really pushing that, this is another thing to think about. That I like electric vehicles. They're cool. They're fast. They're convenient. But think about this. You know how everyone's trying to take control right now. Imagine in like 20, 30 years when everybody has electric vehicles. You just say, something happens and, okay, I want to escape. I want to get out in the mountains. You get in your electric vehicle and you start driving. They can shut it down. They know where you're at. They know they can literally hack into the electric.
Yeah.
So now what do? You have to go and you have to walk. So everything goes back to more control. And I won't get too much into that, because I think all in all, we're not there yet. But it is something to think about, that if you did want to just go and escape and live out in the mountains and just get away from the world, um, they have control and they know where you're at, they know what you're doing, and they could shut down your
Mm-hmm.
vehicle, and you would have to use your good old legs, so that's where
Yeah.
everything electric is not good. And I guarantee you and me, we'll be telling like our kids and generations below us, I remember when I would get in a vehicle and I would signal and I would turn and I had to fill up the gas pump, and they're like, whoa. They're like, you drove a vehicle? Yeah, I had to back up. I had to park, and they're like, wow. Because think about it. People are all on their phones. They're like a bunch of, just like this,
Mhm.
walk around. Like, that's why I don't like going to LA. When I worked out there, there's a whole different atmosphere. People in their headphones, they were sad phones. They're waiting for the train.
Mhm.
They're literally like robots. They're eating crap food. They're just brainwashed. They all want to be a singer. They all want to be rich. Uh, the devil's, deception, 100%. And
Yeah.
and I just picture those people just being like, bring me my car. The car comes, because they're already making cars to where they'll pull out, and then they'll be
Mhm.
like, they'll get in the car, take me to blah blah. They'll be on their phone, and these people won't. So technology will actually make people dumber. They won't know how to drive. They
Yeah.
won't know how to even have an old school map. People will get so dumb that they're just going to know how to talk to their phone. They'll be receiving information. They'll think everything on their phone's like truth, and they're essentially going to be robots, And
Yeah.
people like you and myself, if we grew up in the days where we didn't have that, we're just going to be like, get us off this planet.
Yeah.
So I can't
But
imagine
I
where it's going to
mean,
be at
yeah. As
2050.
crazy as it sounds, it makes sense
We'll
that that's
see.
where
You
we're
guys
headed.
can. I
Yeah.
hope I'm wrong. I hope that people can be
Yeah.
like, Davey, that's not how it is. But let's see in the future where people will be at, when cars will literally take you where you want. Everything's going to be like, yeah, like we won't have to do anything. And I'm sure by then, there will be more, where I see in in Walmart, the things moving around cleaning. So we won't
Mhm.
need people to
Oh
do that. In
yeah.
LA, there's gas stations where there's not even a worker anymore. It's just like, hello,
Mm.
how are you? And then there was a
Oh.
guy in the back of the gas station. He's like,
Uh,
and I was like, and I got my drink and stuff, and I was like, and it said, hello, please scan item. And it was like, ding, ding. And I felt like I was in the movie Idiocracy. I don't know if you've seen that
I
movie,
haven't.
but
No.
You gotta watch it. And
Okay.
and then it was like, and the guy didn't even say anything. And I was like, okay. And I swiped my card and I left. So he was literally pointless saying that. I didn't know I was sitting there. But
Yeah.
yeah, watch Idiocracy. It's with Luke Wilson. And it basically
Okay.
is like what the future is going to look like, but it's a comedy movie
Hmm.
of like the year 2500, like way
Okay.
down the road. It's very, very interesting. People are so
I'll have
dumb.
to watch it.
Like they're like, yeah, like all the water fountains when they're drinking, and I'll let you go. I know I've been talking a lot, but it's all
No, no, you're
Gatorade,
good.
and it's all like Gatorade, and they don't realize that they need water to hydrate. So like
Mm.
everything, like toilets, um, water fountains, everything is just Gatorade. And so Luke Wilson is dumb in our age, and then he goes into this what's it called? It's like, what are those machines where you get in it and it brings you to the future? I don't remember what it's called, but he gets in it and he wakes up and it's the year 2500, and he was really dumb in our age, but then like he was brilliant in in that age, and people are like, you should be the
Mm.
president of the United States, and like he's like, no guys, you need to use water for your fields, that's why the plants are dying. And they're like, huh? And then they attack him and they call him stupid and they want to like kill him, and he's like, guys, no, I'm just telling you, you gotta use water. And then they're like, you are an ass. And like their comebacks are kind of like nowadays when like people will just come back with just name calling, and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, like it's not as bad now as in the movie, but I'm like, I could
mhm.
see it getting to that point. Like
That's
he'll just say
crazy.
things that are, yeah, that are just normal to you and me, and then they'll just look at
Mhm.
him like, oh yeah, and they don't know what he's talking about. We're so dumb.
Yeah, that's crazy. Talking about the cars, I've been wanting a Tesla, but I'm like, I don't remember what movie it was, a Will Smith movie where he's driving a car like that and then he's running away and then the car shuts down on him and it won't let him drive it no more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I ever did run away, I'm like, I can't have a
I know. And I know we're doing crazy talk about running away, but it's true. I mean, you want to feel free. Look, I think there's well, I've heard this from my mentor Ted Lopez, and he said
Tesla.
we're all driven by three things: um, fame, uh, power, and freedom. And he said you're usually one of those, and I'm freedom. So I want to have my freedom. Some people thrive off of
Mhm.
being famous, being like, like, oh, people know me. Some people love being powerful. And and then some people just want their freedom. I'm big on freedom, so I probably will get a Tesla at some point. I love them, and I think we'll be fine. But I'm always gonna have a gas vehicle, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, same.
But I mean, even in our gas vehicles, like I'm looking at this Charger here, and they have a screen. Everything's, like you can call 911. So I guarantee you, I don't. They could maybe even shut down gas nowadays. You never know. So
Probably.
I
Yeah.
don't think it really. Yeah, yeah. It probably doesn't even matter anymore, to be honest. What you would need like a 2005 or older. Like I had an old
Yeah.
diesel truck. That one you'd be fine. They wouldn't be able to track you. You fill it up with diesel, you're good to go. So maybe just get something really old. Never know.
Yeah, I actually have a 2005 aside from my other car, and I'm like, I'm never letting go of that one. You just never know. As long as it runs, it's gonna stay in the garage. I'm not selling it.
That's I think it's smart, and you never know.
Mhm.
Like that's another thing is people are gonna think that gas vehicles are so cool. So I'm gonna keep one of my vehicles like my sports cars because
Mhm.
the whole goal. I've looked at the Democratic Party goal. A lot of times they have these goals and they don't reach them. So I'm not saying this will happen because I don't know, but their goal is to ban all gas cars by 2030. So
Really?
basically, where we all
Mhm.
have to have electric by 2030. And you should look at some of the I have to find it. It's like a 30-page paper of their ultimate goal by 2030. It's in the next agenda. I think it's agenda 22. I can't remember the number. I think this year's was agenda 21. But they have agendas, and that's
Mhm.
how they try to keep moving society to how they want. And sometimes it
Mhm.
goes through, sometimes it's delayed. Trump delayed it because their goal was Hillary. So if Hillary would have gotten in, this would have gone smoother. We would have already be cashless society, I'm sure by now. There would have been a lot of things that would be different right now. But Trump
Mhm.
delayed it by 4 years, and that's why they were like, we will not let him go another 4 years because then we'll be 8 years behind schedule. So yeah, it's not always what they plan because ultimately God's in control.
Yes. Yes. And
Yep.
sometimes I talk to my friends and, they're like, the world's gonna end. And I'm like, well, it's supposed to get better. It's supposed to get like really bad. And then after that, it's supposed to get better. So we'll see.
Exactly. And it says even the angels in heaven don't know the exact time and day that God will come. So we don't know. We can see
Yeah.
signs, in Revelations it tells us the signs, but we ultimately don't know, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything else that you would like to add? Any message to
Um,
the people who are listening?
I would just say, think with your brain. God gave us all a brain to use. Get healthy. I think health is so important nowadays. That's why I love your BCN supplements,
Thank
immune,
you.
and that's why I love using them and I like promoting them because I think it's important for us to take things to boost our immune system. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say stay as far away as possible from drugs, vaccines. Unless you're in an accident, you don't need to take those. um, go to those. I think they're called herbal doctors. I don't remember the exact name, but basically they're doctors that actually prescribe you things that will actually help you, that are natural. They're from the earth, and I would say, just get healthy, get aware. Most of all, read the Bible, even if you don't believe in God. Read the Bible. It's good. I mean, it teaches love people, love God, stay
Yeah.
open to the truth, and recognize the lies. And I don't think there would be any question of why not to read the Bible. So
Yeah.
besides that, I appreciate you having me come on here, and this was fun.
Yeah. I'm glad you wanted to talk because I'm seeing a lot of, so I started following a lot of conservative pages. So I see it a lot now, how people are being censored. But for those people who don't follow a lot of conservative pages, some of them have no idea. I remember I
Yes.
posted something last year and about YouTube taking down a video, censoring it, and they were like, "Oh, they're a private company; they can do whatever they want." Well, now the government has come out and said they have partnered with Facebook to censor information. So I'm like, okay, what's your opinion now?
Wow.
It's like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
know
so,
it's bad. I used to be
yeah,
at 294,000 followers, and after
hmm
2020, I'm now down to 269,000 followers. It's a lot of. That's what, 20? Yeah, 20. Yeah, that's over 20,000 followers. Now, I
yeah,
think some of them were people that didn't agree with me. They were upset that was what I was posting, but a lot of them were Instagram had unfollowed me, and they're hiding my page. So it's
yeah.
bad. Censorship is bad, and we need to take control of it. And there are some other apps out there. Getter is short for Get Together. That's a good one. I have an
Okay.
account. Do you have one on there?
No, what is that?
Okay, it's just GETTR, and it shows kind of like the Statue of Liberty hand with like the torch, and it's
hmm
a cool app. It's very smooth. I made one. I don't use as much as I should, but it came out about a month ago, about 2 months ago, and I
hmm
posted about it. And Instagram censored me again, and I got like 300 likes on that post, and my story views just plummeted because they do not want
Wow.
people to go on there. But
Yeah.
yeah, Getter's from what I hear, it's a good app. Don't take my word for it, but I have been posting stuff on there and it hasn't gotten taken down, so I would think it is.
Is
TikTok's
it kind of
horrible.
like
I have a TikTok.
Twitter? Uh,
Yeah, it's kind of like a combination actually of Twitter and Instagram. It's like kind of like
okay.
both. You can just do
Okay.
statuses, but you can also just post. But yeah, I would say it's kind of, yeah, it's more like a Twitter, I would say.
Okay. Okay. And you say you're
Yeah.
on TikTok and
Well, yeah, TikTok, they just don't even allow anything. So I got my TikTok deleted. Actually, TikTok's my bigger following. I have almost 600,000 on there followers, and I got mine deleted around 500,000 for posting just, it was a quote of this guy in like 1890 that said how vaccines are to, ultimately numb our soul and make us not aware of, it was a deep, very deep. And I posted on TikTok and burnt, deleted. And then also, I put up like funny videos with my gun or something, or even just me shooting, and they'll delete it. And so you just can't post anything because they'll delete it. But then
mm,
like it's really frustrating because then there's literally like TikTok is terrible. There's girls, they're almost naked and they're like twerking and then everything. But then I can't even
yep.
post that. So it's really frustrating. But yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean I have it. because I grew fast on there. But my
Yeah.
stuff it's funny, it's entertaining, and then I use it also for business because I'm sponsored with Bang. So
Yeah.
they pay me to post on there as well.
Yeah. And how can they find you on TikTok? What's your name on there?
It's the same as my Instagram. It's at Davy Michael.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I
that
was
one's
thinking
not censored. I did get it back. I forgot to
you
tell
did.
you that. I got my
Okay.
account back. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I figured because you said you were back on it. But it is a
Yeah.
Chinese app, right?
Yes. I think Trump infiltrated something where but it didn't really help. I think it was like he tried, but I think Microsoft now has shares in it, but it's still China owned, yeah.
Yeah.
They were actually getting information, like they were able to see who you're texting, what you're browsing on. But I mean, honestly, we all know at this point there's so many apps and so many companies that are snooping on us that I don't think we'll be able to get away from that anyway. So I don't really
Yeah.
worry about it anymore, and I use it, unfortunately. The best way would just, but you can't do it nowadays, unfortunately. I think the best thing is just to get rid of your entire phone. I've thought about it. I've thought about just having a flip phone for just like calling and texting, like work and stuff.
Mhm.
It's kind of like I'm the type of person where I really want to try this. I want to do a year challenge. I'll see if I actually do it,
Mhm.
where I live without a smartphone. I'll have it maybe at home or something, but it won't
Mhm.
have data and it won't work unless I'm connected to Wi-Fi. And I'll try to literally just live with my flip phone and see if
Mhm.
I'll have to like save all the numbers in my flip phone. I'll make a YouTube video about it because I think people would like to see that. I'll have to map everything on my screen on my car and
Yeah.
kind of take a cleanse. I think it would be so good if someone did that. I do it with my phone on Sundays
Mhm.
because I do post a lot and it's a business. Is I'll just usually shut it down Saturday night. I won't turn it on Sunday morning, and I'll go the entire day without it, and then I don't turn it on until the evening of Sunday night, and it's really nice. I like doing that, and I do it often. You got to
That's
cleanse
good.
yourself from phones.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel if you do that, you would be happier.
For
Like,
sure.
just
Yeah, it's
get
good to
away
do
from
it
all that.
once a week. Yep, and my
Yeah.
wife, she loves it. So she
Yeah.
doesn't do it and she doesn't want to do it and she complains. I'm like, "Babe, I think this would be good for you." And she's like, "I know, I know." And then I'm like, "All right, so deal, we're going to both shut them down, right?" She's like, "Yes, yes." And then I do it and then she is just like, "Wow, I had the best day." And then like I took her out to Oklahoma and we stayed in these tents and there was no
Mhm.
Wi-Fi. We shut our phones off and she got back here and she was almost crying. She's like, "Babe, I miss that so much." She's like, "I miss the old."
Aw.
She's like, "I didn't know that mentally like I needed that." She's like, "Nobody had me do that." And she's like, "I didn't realize that I just needed to be quiet and just be away from the distraction." She's like, "I miss it already." I was like, "Don't worry, we'll go back, in like a year or so." So she
Yeah,
loves it when I make her do that. But of course,
that's
she
awesome.
complains and she doesn't, but it's very important. I think it is to do it
Yeah,
once a week, and
for
I'm gonna do
sure.
it again this week, because
Mhm.
it clears your mind, and then get outside
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes, I agree. Okay,
Yeah,
well, thank you for coming on and talking to us and sharing your experience as being censored on social media and all the
yeah,
craziness that's going on right now.
love it. Thank you, and
Yeah,
thank you again for the immune boosting pills. I love them, and I
thank
use them
you.
every day. And just keep doing what you're doing. I'm really proud of you for standing up for what
Oh,
you
thank
believe,
you.
and good job on
Yeah,
all your hard work. And I love
thank
what
you.
you're doing.
Thank you. I'll be restocking in August, so I'll send you some more then. And
Okay, yeah,
yeah, my following's not as big, but it's still something because I know people follow me. They still reach out to me. So I'm like, I know you're not hearing this from anybody else, so you're gonna hear it from me if you don't hear it from nobody else. Like
hey,
I
even
need
if
you to
it's
wake up.
one,
Exactly.
yes, one,
Yes.
3, 5, 20, 50, 100 people, doesn't matter. You have a voice. So keep up what you're
Yeah.
doing. And I think big things are going to come and God's going to bless you.
All right. Yes. Well, same to you.
Okay. See ya. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.
If you like this podcast, share it. Maybe it will be of help to someone you know. And if you don't want to miss any of our podcasts, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel. Built from the Inside Out wants to give you a 10% discount on your next supplement purchase at www.bcnsubs.com. Just use code BUILT at checkout. Thank you so much for listening.